What's up everybody, Mayor Reynolds aka Midnight Mayor here, coming at you with another Deadrop video. And today we're going to talk about the big topic of the weekend, which is tournaments. And Deadrop tournaments have been a thing ever since Operation Maximum Damage. This was an event that was organized through Boom.tv, and the winner got to go to the Snapshot 5 reveal event in Texas. It was a big deal. We have not had a tournament like that since. We've had several other things pop up. And in this video, I'm going to talk about what I think about Deadrop tournaments so far, my mindset going into them. I think things that the community at large should commit to memory and understanding. There's been some controversy, various kinds of controversy around these tournaments, which I want to get into. I also want to talk about my feedback from the specific tournaments, how I think Deadrop tournaments can get better. And then I also want to give a little bit of feedback towards the end to players who want to play in Deadrop tournaments and are looking for the mindset and tips for how to play in these tournaments. So it's going to kind of be like a three-part video. But at first, I want to get everybody's mindset on Deadrop tournaments in general, because this is, again, it's an evolving topic, and that's what we're going to talk about, is the actual evolution of Deadrop and how competitiveness and tournaments may or may not figure into it. First and foremost, guys, I want to say this was my mindset heading into a tournament for Deadrop. I've played in 2 of them now. I placed in the middle of the pack in this weekend's tournament. And here's my mindset. First of all, when it comes to Deadrop tournaments in general, I am appreciative that we have a game that is stable enough for us to even play competitively at this point of development. At no point has Midnight Society said this is an esport, this is a competitive game. We have essentially made it this ourselves. The game mechanics are super fun. The game can be played super fast. It's a very high skill ceiling, and I love that. I love that we can organize community events like this, and I'm having fun simply participating in them and seeing these events come to be. There's also some downside to community events, but there's a lot of upside. We'll get into that as well. But I'm appreciative of that, and I think we have to remember, at no point were we promised CDL, at no point were we promised ALGS. Deadrop is a PvPvE extraction shooter. There's going to be enemies coming into this game, not PvP opponents, but actual AI enemies. This game's going to evolve so much. What we are playing right now is not really indicative, and it's not indicative at all, of a final product in all regards, but this game is going to change drastically. Like, we don't have finished art, we don't have finished gun sounds, we don't have finished recoil, we don't have finished geometry. There's a ton of unintended game design in this, and that's not to knock Deadrop. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of this. I'm proud of this game. I'm proud to be part of this experience. But there's unfinished, unpolished elements throughout this game across the board, right? There's infinite slide. That bug or glitch, whatever you want to call it, is not intended game design. That's just something that the game developers had simply not coded yet. This has been in development for about a year. And what they are doing is an open development process. And I love it. I love how great this game is already. I do think that it feels very competitive, and I love it. I'm enjoying competing against the best players in the game. I know a lot of other people are as well. But with that said, I don't feel that it's right for anybody to complain about any certain elements of the actual snapshot and the gameplay, for example, within these tournament lobbies. We know what we signed up for when we got into Deadrop, right? This is it. We are basically playtesting a game. We weren't promised a finished esports ready product by any means. And it was never even said to be a competitive game, right? We are lucky that essentially feels this way. And I love it, and I hope we continue to get this competitive nature of the game as it continues to evolve and be developed. But there's no anti-cheat, right? We know these things. The weapons are not fully balanced, right? Like, we know what we sign up for when we play in a tournament, and that's the mindset that I have going into it. I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna compete, I'm gonna have fun, I'm gonna play the best I can play, and I'm gonna learn from every single tournament, every single experience. And I think we should be thrilled with that. I mean, I've had more crashes in Battlefield 2042 and Modern Warfare 2 when those games launched than I have had in Deadrop, which is a totally unfinished snapshot product. So I think we have to keep our minds in check there. I know a lot of us are competitive by nature. I totally get that. But when you sign up for a Deadrop tournament, you have to keep these things in mind. I'm playing a tournament. I'm attempting to compete in an unfinished, very unfinished, not even close to finished game. We have to keep that in mind. I mean, the whole format of these tournaments is essentially something that we are doing as fans, and that different organizations are putting together to which in my opinion are great for the game. It's great for the community to have these events, to have people watching Deadrop be played by some of the best players. But we also have to keep in mind that everything is going to change. We're queuing together in lobbies, hoping that we end up in the same lobby, right? As more players come into the game, this is not going to be possible. Like, what we are doing is a very grassroots, and that's in a good way. Grassroots is good and bad in many ways for these tournaments, but all these things are going to change 100%. And, you know, custom game lobbies would be a big thing that would help with these tournaments for sure, the organization thereof, but we don't know if we're gonna get that. We don't know. Next snapshot, God knows what's gonna change, right? Like, the whole format of these tournaments may or may not even be possible in the future. There's been a lot of talk, a lot of people who want to play in Deadrop tournaments who have not had the opportunity to do so yet. Definitely, I think that's a thing that stuff like Boom.tv events can address, like open entry events. A lot of these events have been invite only. That's fine. That's up to, you know, the organizer of the event. They can play it however they want to play it. But there's a couple things that come to mind here. We talk about open tournaments. I do think it would be great to see like a Boom.tv event every single snapshot that anybody can join. That's not just lobbies that are the pros, so to speak, the super competitive players. I think that will bring in a lot more people to Deadrop and actually boost player counts in the lobbies. I think that will help. But I do have some feedback on some of the formats as well. So basically, Bryson has been hosting tournaments. He has an interesting format. Doom Drop, those are called. They're usually every Monday, or close to every Monday. But that has a head-to-head aspect of it, which is really cool and unique. The players in the tournament, you play in a winner's bracket and a loser's bracket. And this could change as well as he evolves his tournaments. You are up against one specific person. You and that one other person have to get in the same lobby, and then whoever gets the most points wins. It's usually 2 rounds. You have to get as many points as you can, 2 matches against that particular person. Then you were either moving on to the winner's bracket or you're moving down to the loser's bracket. If you lose in a loser's bracket, you're eliminated from the tournament. But that creates some cool 1v1 rivalry type stuff. I like that. When I played in, I think it was Doom Drop 4, but the opponents that I had are very sportsman's-like, and it's a cool format, right? It can take a long time, I think. That's one of the potential downsides from a viewer experience. Not everybody will want to watch really long tournaments, and the more players you get in a tournament like that, it can take potentially even longer, and it's hard to organize. But I do enjoy that style of tournament. But the next thing that I want to say, scoring in these tournaments so far, there's just one thing, and this doesn't pertain just to Bryson's tournament. Bryson is a really good guy, by the way. Go give him a follow on Twitch, Twitter, or wherever else. I think this went into this actually was Operation Maximum Damage, Doom Drop, and the GG Quest tournament. There was points heavily weighted towards the Deadrop. I'm really fine with that in general. Kills are usually like 2 points in a lot of these tournaments. Doesn't matter what the value is, right? They're all gonna be different. And then there's extractions, which were 2 points in a lot of these tournaments, which is like equal to, like, you know, 1 kill. Not everybody can extract, obviously, but I think there's something that we're missing, and I'd love to hear people's feedback on this particular point. I think placing high, battle royale style, should be worth something, right? Like, maybe you get top 5 and you get a few points. Maybe you get top 3 and you get a few points. I don't know. I just think that it should mean something if you make it to that final stretch, and ultimately winning the Deadrop should probably be worth the most points. I think, you know, if you're in that final fight, I think there should be some value to that. And I don't think we're seeing a lot of people use that extraction for 2 points. I'm not saying it shouldn't be there. This is an extraction shooter after all, so it's not something you can really ignore, I think. I mean, I've even heard feedback from people that say they think extraction shouldn't even be allowed. You should have to fight until you're eliminated in a tournament, in a competitive environment. whatever. But I'm curious to hear people's feedback on that particular point. Should being in the top 5, top 3 be worth some points? To me, I think it personally should be. I'd like to see it tried, but let me know what you think about that particular point. As more organizations and people consider organizing Deadrop tournaments and events, by the way, I just want to say, be somewhat wary of this. Ask questions of the organizer and look into their reputation, because I think there's going to be some people, Lord knows, we've got plenty of distrustworthy individuals and organizations in the Web3 space. This is not an accusation towards anybody in particular, but ask questions before you sign up for these events and really look into these, because I think there's going to be a lot of people trying to leverage the hype and the excitement and the competitiveness of the Deadrop community to bring attention to their own organizations or their own brand or their own whatever. And that's ultimately the point, right? That's why you would host an event or host a tournament, is to promote whatever, in most cases, whatever your business may be. And that's fine. But I think we need to be careful about, you know, who's hosting, and whose event are you participating in? Who are you promoting? Just be careful about that. That's the one thing I want to say right here. And the next thing I would say to people who are considering organizing Deadrop events, think ahead, be very, very, very clear with your rules, and make those the rules. Like, those are the rules. You should be knowledgeable about Deadrop if you're hosting such an event within Deadrop, because you're going to be inviting people who are extremely knowledgeable in the game. And to be honest, you don't want to be relying on those players, or a select few of those players, who may try to mislead you, who may try to gatekeep certain people out of the tournaments because they don't like them, they don't want to play against them, whatever. If you're organizing the tournament, you should be able to speak with authority about Deadrop, the Deadrop community, and so on and so forth. And you shouldn't really be putting things up to player vote, in my opinion, unless you explicitly put it in the rules that, you know, X, Y, and Z will be decided by player vote. Then so be it. That was in the rules from the beginning. But the other thing that I would say, and again, a lot of these things are super grassroots, and I don't want to criticize anybody. I think having all the players in the tournament constantly be in this large Discord call together, while it can be fun to chat with everybody together like that, sometimes it can be quite a distraction. And I think once Deadrop grows, and again, you're going to have larger tournaments with larger player bases and frankly larger streamers playing in these tournaments, you know, pro players that we all know and watch play other games right now, they're not going to want to be sitting in during their streams in those types of Discord calls with people joking about this, that, and the other thing. As fun as that is, that's kind of what proximity chat is for, right? A lot of those jokey moments. But, you know, it's one thing to have a call in the beginning to establish the rules and get everybody on the same page, or but it's a whole other thing to have everybody. There can be points during, or when you're organizing these events, where it can be extremely chaotic, which is why I say from the beginning, be extremely upfront about the rules from the get-go, and obviously you cannot change them and should not change them on the fly, no matter what anybody in the tournament or any groups in the tournament, any players say. One thing that I'm particularly looking forward to is tournaments that essentially, sorry to say it, some people won't like this, but I'm going to say it, are pub stomps, events where you can actually have however many people play in the tournament, you know, open enrollment, and it's just literally when the games are populated, when we get to that point where all the servers are full all the time, where you can have players queuing up. Obviously you would still be streaming, so on and so forth, so all your VODs could be you know, quality checked for cheating and all of this stuff, but we can actually just queue into a full lobby of 36 and get as many kills as you possibly can. I want to see that. And I know some people are not going to like that. They're going to say, you know, it's pub stomping, it's not as high skill. I still think there is a skill to being in a lobby when you're against 35 other players, and you're rotating around the map, trying to manage your health, manage all your ammo, fighting all these other people to get as many kills as you can. I want to see those tournaments, and that doesn't require all this organization where you're having everybody trying to queue together and be in these Discord calls together and agree on this, that, and the other thing. I'm looking forward to tournaments like that down the road when we get there. The other thing that's obviously becoming an issue is skill gap in Deadrop, and this is a good thing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the skill gap in Deadrop is an issue. It's within the tournament itself. So in the tournament that I played in yesterday, I would say there was probably 3 different very clear skill levels competing in the same tournament. And this is not a criticism. There's people who are extremely, extremely good at this game who, you know, finished near the top. And then there was kind of a middle tier, people who are very, very, very good, but not at the same level as, you know, some of the top of the players. And then there were people in the tournament who, frankly, didn't even belong there. And look, this is not an insult towards anybody's performance. We all have bad games. We all have bad performances. But you're going to run into this because Deadrop is a very high skill game. There's crazy verticality to it. There's a lot of intricate game design. The movement and the map knowledge and stuff. It's going to be very difficult for people who are inexperienced in the game to come in and play in a tournament of this type against people who are high-end players. So when you're organizing one of these tournaments, just bear in mind, if it's invite only, you're going to have to be careful who you invite, who you group together. We're probably going to have to get to the point where there's really like a content creator tier or a chair or a ladder, and then like a pro play you know, tier, and people could sign up, I guess, for whichever tier they want, but you can abuse that system as well. So it's tough, right? But I think organizers need to keep that in mind, that there's really already a Deadrop in this early point a wide skill gap. Okay guys, so now I want to talk about how you should approach playing in a Deadrop tournament. This is my personal opinion, my personal experiences. I have not won any of the Deadrop tournaments, so I cannot by any means right now say that I'm the best player in the game, but this is just my tips for you. I know there's a lot of people who are aching to play in Deadrop tournaments. They love Deadrop, they play it all the time, they're refining their skills, and they want to play in these tournaments. So here's the tips that I can give those people. If you're somebody who's looking for tips at how to get better at Deadrop in general, I've got all sorts of videos on the channel about that, movement guides, map guides, all sorts of tips and tricks. So make sure you check out the other videos on the channel if you just want the basics. But as far as playing in a tournament, the first thing you need to know is you're going to be queuing naked. No armor, no ammo, no heals, nothing like that. So with that said, it's a very different experience than your standard gameplay experience. It's more like a battle royale, right? Everybody starts with nothing. So if you've been playing the game and then all of a sudden you're queuing naked, it's going to feel different. So what does this mean? In the lobbies we played in yesterday in the GG Quest tournament, most of us were all in the lobby, we're playing in the tournament. There's a lot less loot to go around. That meant that there was a lot less snipers. There's a lot less level 3 armor and helmets. There's a lot less heals. So it's going to change the way your pace of play than when you go in with all level 3 stuff, a sniper rifle, and a kitted double barrel or whatever, right? So you have to have that mindset. It's going to be a little bit more about survival and you know, scrounging for what supplies you can get. And you have to have a mindset. So what I would recommend is when you spawn in, run to the nearest and pick up other stuff along the way. I'm not saying ignore everything else, but run to the nearest high tier loot box. You guys know what I'm talking about if you've been playing Deadrop. They spawn around the map. They're always in the same places. This was a classic Dr. Disrespect. I want fixed loot thing. I guarantee this was his input. And that's where you're going to get the best loot. So go find that stuff right at the beginning of the game before other players have grabbed it. Give yourself that early advantage. My personal thing from there is decide where you want to play and get there early. Early in the game, nobody wants to die, right? Most of the time, people are going to be pretty conservative, trying to loot. If you want to play near crane, go get near crane right away, as soon as you can. If you want to play control, go get in that building, get ready. I personally went to the top of the map, shipping hub, the super lift, almost every single game. It's a hotly contested spot. I also went to crane. Like, nobody pushed me when I was on crane. I spent an entire game there. They knew I had it. They didn't try to push me unless they absolutely had to. If somebody did push me, they pretty much got punished because it's a power position. So get to those power positions and have this in your mind. What is my game plan? Where am I going to play? But you have to be ready to change, because you're going to have to change every spawn if you die. Can I actually get back to that spot now? Because I need to get loot. It's going to be very difficult to get loot if you spawned now later in the game. Again, the limited loot pool on the map. So you may have to change your approach. You may have to think, okay, I cannot get back to my stuff. I can't even go back there. I know there was like 3 people over there on the way, and there's just, so now what am I gonna do? You might be best holding out for that final fight for a third party for the dead drop. You kind of got to figure it out and think on your feet, but have a game plan going in. You do not want to go into your matches in the tournament not knowing, you know, what your loot run is going to be, where you're going to play in general. You need to be comfortable. You need to have a game plan. Obviously, you need to be able to flex it, but you get what I'm saying. Okay, this one took me forever to break myself away from. It's a very bad habit. Stop looting. That is one of my biggest tips for playing, actually getting better in general. If you want to go for high kill, high damage games in dead drop, but definitely in a tournament, all you need is 2 guns, sufficient ammo, armor, helmet, and meds. Maybe some smokes, right? You don't need to fill up your inventory like you see on my screen right now, especially in a tournament. All you need is those 2 guns, ammo to shoot them, meds, armor, helmet, the basics. You're not trying to get out with loot. So often, you know, we play battle royale games, other extraction shooters, you kill somebody, you can't wait to go get that loot. Unless you need the supplies, unless you don't have armor, unless you don't have meds, you're basically don't risk it. There's a lot of high skill players in these tournament lobbies, and if you're sitting there, you know, oh, I'm gonna run over here and get you're gonna get killed. I promise you. Break yourself from that habit. Stop looting. You can win the game with the 2 guns you have, level 2 armor, and some bandages. I promise you. Just be smart about it. Don't get stuck looting every single thing on the map. Just stop. And the other thing, I put my gun away when I run an awful lot in this game. It's generally a very good tip. Never a bad idea. You move a lot faster, you're harder to hit. But with that said, if you're playing against high skill players, like in these tournament lobbies, like in these scrim lobbies, if you hear somebody, whether through proximity chat, which you should absolutely have turned off if you're playing a tournament, by the way, in my opinion, heavily recommend do not play with proximity chat on. If you hear somebody, have your gun out. Be ready to shoot first, and that's that. Don't get caught without your gun out. Don't get caught moving out of place. If you hear somebody, be aware of your surroundings and keep your gun out. Don't get caught with your pants down. That's it for this video, guys. Let me know what you've thought of the dead drop tournaments thus far. Let me know what you think about the future of dead drop as a competitive game, of dead drop tournaments in general. Like I said, there are a lot of changes coming to this game in every aspect. There's 6 more sectors to come. There's gonna be weapon changes. The weapon models aren't finished. There's gonna be recoil changes. There's gonna be every change in the book. AI enemies, so on and so forth. So let me know what you think about dead drop tournaments. Let me know what you think about the future of dead drop tournaments, what you would like to see, what you do not want to see. Let me hear it all in the comments, guys. If you have a specific question for me about my opinion on this or that about dead drop tournaments or a specific dead drop tournament, let me know and I will respond. So with that said, Mayor Reynolds, Midnight Mayor out. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you want more Dead Drop and Midnight Society content. That's what this channel is all about. We are solely focused on being the best Dead Drop channel on YouTube. So come join us, subscribe, leave your thoughts below. Thanks a lot. This video is sponsored by G Fuel. Use code MAYOR at any time to get 20% off your order at G Fuel on gfuel.com or the G Fuel app. Just go to the website, select one of their many amazing flavors in both tubs, cans, G Fuel hydration, whatever G Fuel products you want. Use code MAYOR at checkout to get 20% off. I guarantee you, you're gonna feel hyped when you drink G Fuel. Come watch my streams if you need any more evidence of that. Get some G Fuel today. Use code MAYOR for 20% off. And thanks to G Fuel for sponsoring all of our content.